What is going on, guys? Rodney here with Crypto Bros. Welcome to tonight's video. Tonight we are talking about Arweave, and essentially what Arweave is a decentralized, immutable data storage blockchain. Now, before we jump into what it is, I do want to mention it is gaining some traction in the ICO space and is getting some hype behind it. Yes, I get that data storage is not the most sexy thing on planet Earth, and yes, this is a direct competitor to Filecoin, Siacoin storage, but what they're doing that's a little bit different is based on their proof of access consensus mechanism. And essentially what they're saying is like, look, for the first time ever, we've been able to figure out how to permanently store data. Not only are we permanently able to store it, anybody else, and we're also able to do it censorship free. So that is what we're going to be diving into tonight. But before we do that, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's been subscribing to the channel. Seriously, appreciate all the likes, all the comments, all the love, all the subscription. I'm very humbled by you guys. All that being said, let's talk about Arweave. So I think two important points to make really quickly. One, again, I get that data storage is not super sexy, but if we look at, the size of the problem, I think that is what's breeding all this competition in the space. I mean, we're even seeing, outside blockchains trying to offer these same services, right? Like the cloud, Amazon's AWS, etc., plus the ones that are in the blockchain. So I just think that the size of this problem often gets underestimated, but it also breeds competition in this space. And then two, in terms of Arweave, no, they're not revolutionary in trying to tackle data first mover advantage, and being able to kind of carve their own path and figure out their own kind of solution to this is going to be very beneficial to them in the long run. As we hang out here on the website, you'll absolutely see that their mainnet launch is in 15 days, 22 hours, 56 minutes, and 22 seconds. And I think that's very important to note here because one, they do have their testnet up and running. It's been running for the last 6+ months, but also, they have an MVP. They're not just taking everybody's money and going to develop. They're already kind of in it. They're developed. They have an MVP. They have a product. They have things going for them. So I think those are a couple important things to note. If people are interested in going or in signing up or getting on the whitelist, go to arweave.org. You can apply to the whitelist and do all that thing. They're currently working through their KYC. By no means am I pushing or telling anyone to do this. This isn't financial advice, just relaying information here. So anyway, as we work our way down a little more, it says Arweave has solved the millennia-old problem of decentralized data availability. Pay once, store forever. Arweave makes permanent data storage a reality for the very first time. As the $3 trillion data storage industry is growing, the need for cheap, distributed, permanent data storage on the blockchain has become an urgent necessity. And I think that statement there is very important in terms of understanding their actual project, because this is an actual blockchain project. This is their blockchain. They're calling it their Blockweave. And we'll kind of dive into that as we talk about these pillars here, but this isn't like an ERC20 token or something like that. Like, they have developed their own blockchain, hence their main net. So important stuff there. As we talk about their Arweave actual protocol, and this is kind of like their proof of access consensus mechanism. Essentially what they're doing is this is what produces the data, and how they're doing this is they're rewarding miners for storing the data, but also serving it on demand. And as this mining pool gets larger, the system becomes more efficient, and the transactions will continue to improve. It's like this their network kind of self-optimizes. And as we talk about Blockweave, which is what they're actually calling their blockchain, it says Blockweave is a new distributed ledger. Its technical innovations elevating it beyond current blockchains and positioning it to become the backbone of the $3 trillion data economy. In this part, they're just saying, like, look, this proof of access model is essentially making this, more energy efficient and more cost efficient moving forward. Like any newer blockchain that's coming out, they are focused on high transaction throughput. They're saying with their Weave, technology, they are going to hit speeds of 5,000 transactions per second. And they actually go pretty in depth in their white paper. I definitely think it's worth checking out. It is fairly technical, and as you guys can see here, I kind of boogered it up with all these different highlights and stuff, trying to get a good understanding for it, but it is worth checking out, if you want to learn more on there. And last but not least, in terms of things they're doing, again, like many of these blockchain projects, you can build dApps on top of this. So we'll talk about all that in a minute. In terms of their partnerships, really, I just wanted to talk about the TechStars one. You guys can check out Upvest. It's you can actually see it right here. Get access to the top 1% of private token sales. So this kind of just lets you be see or in on the early parts of these projects, and you can decide if you want to invest. But the one that I think is very important here is this TechStars one. So Arweave kind of graduated through this TechStars incubator program. And this is not just for blockchain. This is for all kinds of different entrepreneurs, projects, whatever. But one thing that's notable about this TechStars thing is they kind of they had a piece of the pie in the startup of Uber. And we can actually check this out. But if we just kind of look at some of the corporate partnerships here, IBM, Alexa, Barclays, Ford, some fairly big names. But really the important part here, and I'm just going to read this to you. It says, at TechStars, we believe in full transparency. Here's a complete list of companies that we have ever funded. And essentially what they do is like they have mentor funding, all this stuff. They help get these guys off the ground by connecting them with, other people that can help. Again, most notable here in the States is going to be Uber, but some fairly big names on this. Saphiro, DigitalOcean, etc. You guys can check this stuff out. Essentially at this point they've been working with over 1,200 companies. At this point in time, 926 of them are active, 140 of them have been required, and really, only 12% of all of that has ever failed. So I think that kind of just speaks volumes into where this is going in terms of, longevity, performance, that type of thing. Again, I get this doesn't totally tie into the the token review itself, but I do think it's worth mentioning. As we kind of get down and talk about the dApps that they're working on, these are all pretty cool and have some real world use cases, and we'll buzz through these really quick. So I'll just read through these. It says they've actually partnered with one of the largest hospitals in Europe has partnered with Arweave to build a brand new access journal. And if we kind of think about this medical sector, we're seeing a lot of medical records, hospital records, that type of stuff put on the blockchain. So they already have a partnership with one of the largest hospitals in Europe. I think is cool. This piece I think is really interesting. Essentially what they're doing is people are going to be able to archive pieces of the internet in kind of like this sister network to the actual internet. And this is where they're really focusing on the censorship part. And essentially they're saying like, as a human right, you should have access to this data. And with digital data, it's very possible that there's tampering, that it can be updated, that things can move over the course of time. And they're saying with this, like you could, if we archive this website now, we would be able to visit it at this point in time 10 years from now. So if they updated it, we'd be able to go back and see that. And I think there's a bunch of different use cases for this in terms of like scholarly papers, all these different things in there. They're just saying that like, look, it is every human's right to kind of be able to access all this information untampered with. So I think this whole archive the internet is very, very cool. Legal document storage, interesting piece. And then this right here, this says verifiable democracy, and this has to deal with voting. And I think there's even like a use case here in the States, considering we see all these rumors and things about people manipulating the ballots and all this other stuff. But this says a private voting system for government elections. With this system, every vote in the election is cryptographically entangled with every other vote in every other election, ensuring no party or individual can ever subvert the election results. Very cool. So anyway, again, all talking about storing this data on there. And the last but not least thing has to go back to kind of building the dApps. And it says our REST API allows developers to start creating their Arweave-based projects in any programming language today. By no means am I technical or a programmer, but I think having the ability to have options in whatever programming language you want just kind of speaks to what these guys have going on and being technologically forward or advanced or whatever you want to call it. Last but not least, in terms of the website. You guys know kind of how I do the teams. It is, you know, fairly speculative, but I think these guys have a lot going on for them. Sam Williams is their CEO and co-founder. He is a PhD candidate with extensive experience in decentralized system design and implementation. William Jones is a candidate in intersection of computer science, graph theory, and neuroscience. They've got their CCO here, a small team of developers. So sometimes I like to look at the size of the teams, and while I think these guys are small, I do think that they have a lot of things going for them. Again, that's very speculative. Others may not consider this an all-star team, but you should check out a couple of the interviews here. They're actually pretty good with Sam. I've even heard him say, like, you know, with what they're doing in storage, that you would be essentially be able to build a decentralized Twitter, a decentralized Facebook on Arweave. I don't quite, you know, I can't necessarily back that. I am not technologically advanced, but, you know, they're headed in the right direction with, you know, their throughputs, storage abilities, blah, blah, blah. So you guys can check this stuff out. Down on their advisors, some pretty big names in here. Anthony Ryan, head of growth at QuantStamp, CEO of Bitbucket, CEO of Never Stop Marketing, Passionate Crypto and Blockchain. There's a couple other good ones here. There was a guy that was on IOTA that I want to point out too. High-performing executive with 20 years of experience in global business leader, has been succeeded in delivering significant results and business change in B2B, B2C, and B2G. Rob Johnson. Rob co-founded Makers Academy and grew it into Europe's largest coding boot camp. Man, where's the guy who was on IOTA? Sorry, guys, I don't read that well. What's going on? Fabian is an entrepreneur and investor working on creating net positive companies. He is a former CEO and co-founder of Nestpick. Sorry, guys, definitely can't read. Oh, here we go. Looked right over him. Jeremy Epstein. Jeremy Epstein, the Never Stop Marketing guy. He was also a former advisor to IOTA and other successful cryptocurrency projects. So a lot of these guys have some clout in the space. I know I butchered that part on the advisors here, but again, if you guys wanted to sign up, all you got to do is check out their website, arweave.org, if you want to get in. Chances are, if you are in the States, like myself, you won't be, but there's some very interesting things here. If we check out their social media, I find this actual next part interesting. Only 2,334 followers on Twitter, so it is gaining some traction. But if we look at their Telegram, over 27,000 members here. I heard that there was some type of bounty to get people in on this. I don't know all the ins and outs, so do your own research there. But we can see here on YouTube, they are gaining some traction. I actually follow both of these guys. I like CoinBlock. I listen to a lot of things that he says and kind of look at how he ranks some of these ICOs, but also the big one here. Crypto Bud did a video on this about a week ago, so gaining some traction on YouTube. This is also a very interesting piece, and they featured this on their website. And I'll actually show you guys here. If you click on this link, it brings you to this video, and this is basically what they're saying is this is one of the best ICO reviewers or advisors that are out there. And in this little article or this little video clip that has almost 60,000 views, he kind of drops the Arweave project as being a promising ICO in terms of data storage. Couple articles that I'll post below here. And these are actually based on that whole archive part. So these are interesting little reads, but it says the developers of Archain, at one point this project was called Archain. They did a rebranding to make it Arweave. Obviously, Archain can cause some confusion, but also Arweave is a better representation of what their project is. But it says the developers of Archain have released the first version of their new cryptocurrency archiving system. This archiving system, built on revolutionary and cryptographic technology, would allow users to submit documents and web pages to archive that is truly permanent and uncensorable for a small fee in the Archain currency. Again, you'd be able to submit whatever you want on there, and when it's immutable, it means it can't be tampered with. They can't change it. They can't manipulate anything. So it's very interesting in that regard. A couple other articles here. This is one where this is also talking about the archiving part, and their CEO just kind of talks a little bit about there. He says, "We believe that access to history is a human right. By distributing an open archive of historically important documents and web pages across the globe, we are going to make it impossible for one country or even group of countries to censor our collective history." So very interesting, forward-thinking thoughts there. And last but not least is just one of their Medium articles. I will post all of these links below so you guys can check this out. Overall, I do think data storage is fairly cool, and I think it's a big project or a big problem that needs to be solved. Again, it's not sexy. It doesn't have like the wow factor. So, I think that'll play into how well this does. But if they can start gaining traction and get people adopting it and using some of these tools, I think this has a pretty decent future ahead of it, especially based on the team and the people who are involved. So anyway, guys, super cool token. Happy to cover this one tonight. Again, just wanted to thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't subscribe to the channel yet, all you gotta do is come over here, hit the subscribe button. I am super appreciative. But that was all I have for you this evening. I will be back tomorrow with another video. Catch you guys later.